I want to start with saying that like this show is really an act of community world building. I'm excited to be able to moderate a conversation between Dr. William Dodd to my right here and Shawn Theodore here to my left. As we walk through this, as you all might have heard, the animating thesis of this show was, what if the Pyramid Club had never closed? That thesis has many different other questions that I think are also equally compelling what ifs, and so we're unpacking that together tonight. So this forum is really an opportunity for all three of us to offer our perspectives as artists, as curators, as collectors on what that question could look like. One of the what if questions that I had, just a basic one of what started your journey? How did you discover the artists that began your collecting passion and really the foundation of the Pyramid Club collection?
And when I was growing up, there wasn't a lot of black art there. My mother would buy stuff for the house. She would color the faces brown. There were no black art galleries there. And I was always a collector, so it's always been in my blood. I went to Hampton Institute at the time, and I was exposed to African American art all around. This exposure, I was like, wow. I mean, only thing, when I would go to the State Museum in Harrisburg, I would see black faces, but they were normally of servants and slaves. Something hit me, so I decided to take art history course there. One Saturday, I went to the local mall. This woman had these playing cards. I picked up the cards. This is what I saw. This is not the image. That doesn't look like me. Doesn't look like my sister. Doesn't look like my father. It doesn't look like my mother. So I decided at that time to start getting into black art.
Yeah, that's incredible, and I often tell people the story of when you told me about meeting Gerald Brown and then learning about the Pyramid Club, and it's like this breadcrumb of things that keep revealing itself to you. And one thing that people will tell you, and even the president will say, is like the best community engagement for Temple University is the Charles L. Blockson collection. Like, people love that place, and it's one of the just, again, hidden gems. I was like, there's something we have in common here. Let's figure this out. In my first meeting, I told them all the things I was doing, and Dr. Turner is amazing. She's a huge storyteller. She's listening, and then she just starts handing me stuff. She's handing me like images, handing me this, and she hands me this book. So this is Charles L. Blockson's pictorial album, charting the journey of John W. Mosley. A few weeks later, Leslie Willis Lowry reached out to me, and she has this idea. She's like, I really want to do a retrospective of John W. Mosley, and I have this guy, Dr. Dodd, who I've been working with, and you might want to take a look at this. And I was reading our own archival documents and seeing past shows we did, and just seeing threads of like, wow, okay, we can actually get someone to think through what are the ways that you can bring history to life in an immersive way. How can you actually not just tell people history, but how can you reconstruct it? How can you think about it as a rebirth? And so we went back and forth about what about like a reborn version of the Pyramid Club, and we're like, oh, it's almost there, but let's keep working through this. And so I was like, there's got to be somebody that I can think of who would be able to just really get what we were putting down and translate it. So that leads me to Shawn. How did you imagine and think through the task, that you were given and we worked through together of imagining an architecture around the Pyramid Club in this space?
The way that I initially thought about the Pyramid Club was to address its absence as a significant spiritual entity. And for its lack in our recent past, it still stood as an institution of value and worth. We still measure our successes in our work based on what they started. So it was a proto-museum. It's an archetype for black activism through achievement in art. There's a sense of purpose that could not be denied by how the members moved away from a colonized clock, where these things were foreign to the art world at large, and mostly in Philadelphia. it became a joyful sort of place to work because I was able to distill everything happening in 3 different ways. One, the historical importance, then its theoretical resonance, and then its speculative value and worth. And I started to look at it as, how much was really known in the contemporary space about the Pyramid Club itself. It had become its own myth. And this is rich for me. I'm like, now we're dealing in my territory where I can find facts, and what works as fact works to guide us to push the myths further. And there's so much there's a wealth of myth waiting to be discovered. You have the photographic works to look through, and that gives you a sense of ritual and lifestyle and purpose, and also conflicts. You see there's schisms along pathways of the different audiences within. And it was, for me, it started to open up, because then once I started to understand, like, okay, this is a cultural phenomenon that was happening, and we are so far removed from it. Let me dig in and start really looking at, well, what was being said at the time? But these conflicts helped push the club forward. Even though there was bickering and it was public and it was sometimes mean-spirited, they still ended up moving forward. So it's not like they were a homogenous group of black folk that agreed with everything that was being presented within. They had tug, they had pull, there was tooth to what was being said between them. Its impact for me.
Yeah, that's incredible. I think the challenge, sometimes it's a challenge of language even to know how to talk about it, and both you and I, we're introducing some different terms to try to grapple with that. I think you introducing or sharing with us at least Afro-mythology. For me, Afro-prismatic is the way that I think about it. There's just a variety of different complexities of experiences that are layered within Blackness that we often flatten. And I think, I look at your work in here too. It really challenges you to sort of decolonize even your eye. It was a challenge printing some of the things because you were like, is this the same image? Like on the computer, just the computer wouldn't give you all the details that you would get when it actually became a material object. So it was really, really a journey to get to that state and have the right way to even think about it. The other thing I guess I'm sitting with is this question of what is the Pyramid Club of tomorrow? Some of the title of the show, Pyramid Club 1937 to 2035, that was us trying to point to a time horizon. This area, North Philadelphia, the North Broad region, has a lot of change it's undergoing.
If it were still on its timeline, we would be looking at maybe a sister organization that would probably carry much of the weight here, in as much as Studio Museum does in New York. I think it would have branched out and gathered more of what was happening in and around the civil rights movement, because they tried their best, the governing body tried their best to avoid engaging with the civil rights movement as it was evolving through the younger folks. To that end, I still believe we still reckon with the sort of hauntology of what's happening with the Pyramid Club. It haunts and informs through its haunt. I look at it as institution without home, but institution that finds itself through our practice. So each one of us is a vessel of what the Pyramid Club embodies. I'm a Philadelphia artist. I'm invested tremendously in the arts and culture scene here.
Thank you.